You may be seeing players on X left and right getting scholarship offers, but the question is, are they legit? And most importantly, are they committable? There's a big difference between getting an offer and getting a committable offer. You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just $5,700 myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans. And in this podcast, myself and our head coach here from Next Play, Brian Overton, who has 15 years of Division I recruiting experience, are going to break down scholarship offers. Are they committable? Are they not committable? And how the whole offer process works so that you, as a recruit or a parent of an athlete that's trying to get a scholarship offer, can make the right decisions and, most importantly, understand the entire recruiting process. So, Brian, let's jump right into this. What is a committable offer? Let's just start simply at the most important piece, which is the core of this topic.
Yeah. It's a great question, and man, I answered a lot of questions about this a lot, especially during this time of year. Obviously, with signing day and transitioning to the next class of 26. But basically, what a committable offer means is, if you have an offer from a school or a program, if it's committable, that means you can call at any time, pick up the phone, call the coach, say, "Hey, coach, I'm ready to come." They're ecstatic about it. Welcome to the family. You're committed. You're in, right? That's what a committable offer means. And then when I mean like anytime, I mean like, if you got the offer 3 months ago and it's committable, you could call tomorrow and they'd be just as happy about you committing as they would have the day they offered you. Okay. So that's what a committable offer means. It means that they are literally willing to take you into their signing class and count you as a commit, and eventually, sign on signing day, if it goes that far, with the offer. So that is what a committable offer is. But again, we'll get into it here in a second. Not all of them are committable for a variety of reasons, but just to start it off with, like you said, the bare minimum of the basis of the podcast today is, what is a committable offer, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I think it's really important to understand, because even like a lot of stuff you're seeing, when you're scrolling on X and it's like, this guy got this offer and this guy got this offer. And quite frankly, like, I know there's a lot of kids that they get down like, oh, I
Yep.
only have this offer. I don't have any offers. Meanwhile, you know, the offers aren't even committable. And you and I have talked about this. This industry is wild, guys. Like, there are people paying for offers. There are friends of coaches that will say they offered a kid just to give that kid momentum so he can actually get real offers. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And so this podcast, like, this is a cool podcast. Because you're gonna get to hear exactly what's going on behind the scenes. But it's so important for you as a parent or a player just to know, like, relax. Let's not get down on yourself, right? And we're going to jump into it, but I do want to just have this conversation real quick. Like, relax, don't get down on yourself. You control what you can control, right? You can't control what other players are doing, what other coaches are doing. You can't control any of that. But what you can control is posting consistently on social media and getting better at it. What you can control is doing outreach to college coaches and getting better at it. And when they do respond, calling college coaches and getting them on the phone and getting better at it. And then going on visits and getting better at it, and walking in the front door of programs that you want to play at and getting better at it. these are things that you can be focusing on that you can control. You can't control that a kid, his dad knows a friend who's a recruiting coach at, FAU and asks for a huge favor to send a fake offer so that he can get some momentum and get additional offers, right? And it's really not good that happens anyways, because then this kid gets let's say FAU offers him, and then FIU's like, oh well, we want to get him, and then grabs him. He goes there, and then he's at a huge disappointment, and it's not good, right? Either way you look at it, it's not good. But the bottom line that I want to say here before we dive into what's going on behind the scenes is what you can control is what you can control, right? That's the play in front of you. That's why we say next play. It's always the next play in front of you. You don't getting down or getting frustrated, or all that comes from is not knowing what to do next. And that's why we give our players the next play at any time, so they don't get down. So they always know what to do next, and they're always taking action. They're always moving forward, versus a lot of, unfortunately, young 15, 16, 17-year-old men, that boys, athletes, whatever you want to call them, see other stuff going on. They get down on themselves. They don't post. They don't do outreach. They allow fear of rejection and fear of failure to stop them and hold them back. And they just don't do anything. And then their senior year passes, and they just chalk not playing college football up to, I just wasn't good enough. Other kids got offers, and they couldn't be any further from the truth and missed a huge opportunity. So I didn't mean to go on a rant there, but I just feel like there's a lot of young men that are watching this video, and Brian and I are here for you. And so we just want to make this part extremely clear to you that, first off, most of it is trash. Secondly, who cares? What matters is what you do at this point, not what they're doing, not the results they're getting. That's what you're doing, right? So, anyways, Brian, let's jump into the semantics behind the committable offer from a recruiting director standpoint, right? You literally built the recruiting department of an SEC program, and you guys would give committable and you would give non-committable offers. So when it was non-committable, why would you give a non-committable offer? How did you organize that? What did that look
Yeah.
like on the back end?
Yeah. And so again, guys, it's a common question that I have to talk families through all the time, and it makes so much more sense to them once they understand, the context of it. And just before I answer that question, Richie just asked, to piggyback a little bit about what he said, when you're seeing all that stuff on social media, just understand the short answer is there's so much context that can go into why that kid posted it, or if it's real or not. I mean, it is just so much context that can go into that. So just keep that in mind. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. Could it be real? Absolutely. Is there
Yeah.
just a high percentage that it's not? Absolutely. So there's a lot of context that goes into it, and just keep that in mind and do exactly what he said. Run your race, control what you can control, and that's going to save you a lot of anxiety, in the process. So getting back to what he mentioned, committable versus non-committable. First, the premise of that question is 9 times out of 10, when you get an offer, the coach is not going to come right out and say this is committable or it's not. Okay. Which is why we coach our players that work with us to ask that question. A lot of coaches out there do not want you to ask that question. It's an uncomfortable question to answer a lot of times, which is why we have our guys ask it. Okay. And if they're prepared, they'll have an answer like I'll give you here in a second. But sometimes it will tell you a lot about what they really think or where they're really at, with you. Okay. If they don't want to give you a direct answer. Okay. So again, remember, committable means that at any point in time, you can pick up the phone, call the school or the program, the coach, whoever it may be, and say, I want to commit. I'm ready to go to school there. They're like, awesome, you're in. They're all happy. They're excited. You're part of their signing class, and at least till signing day. It's not official, obviously. It's a verbal commitment, but they're counting you as part of their signing class, and they're excited to have you, and you're in. Okay, they're counting you as a real number as a scholarship on their board. Okay, That's what means a committable offer is. Okay. Non-committable offers. Okay. And I'm telling you the way I handled it over the years at every school I was at. And this is pretty much the majority, I would say, nowadays. All right. What you have to understand is, and this is the hardest thing a lot of times for parents to understand just as much as it is the athlete. Okay. And the best example I give is, I'll just take running back, for instance. Okay. I'm just picking a position. It doesn't matter which one it is. And let's say, because everybody's transitioning mostly to the 2026 class right now. So we'll use them just because it's a longer time frame. And say we're taking 2 running backs in that class. Okay. That's the number that we have allocated at that position for that year in that class. All right. Depending on what level you are, but for the most part, this reigns true. If I'm taking 2 running backs in the 2026 class, I need to be actively recruiting somewhere between 10 and 12 guys. Okay. That's because you have to remember, guys, this is not like going to the grocery store. The coach can't just go in there and pick, oh, this one's nice. Let me have this one. Let me have this one. Let me put this one in my cart and take it home with me. That's not how recruiting works. Okay. In recruiting, they have to like you as well. They have to choose you. You're not necessarily choosing them. They have to choose you. So you have to have a pretty good pool of guys to make sure you can get 2 quality guys. You better have a pretty good pool to choose from that you're actively recruiting. So if we're taking 2, and let's say we're recruiting 12 actively, all right, we may feel comfortable enough and really like, and you're going to rank them. It's just like anything else. We like this one the best down to here, right? It's just like buying or purchasing any other thing, okay? It's in order. So the top of the guy on the board, we like the most, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 12, okay? And depending on the coach or the coordinator, a lot of things go into this, but let's just, for hypothetical reasons, say that we really, really like the top 5 guys on our board at running back right now. We've got 12 guys on it. We really, really like, for a lot of reasons, the top 5 guys. Okay. So those top 5 guys all have committable offers, what we would consider a committable offer. So if any one of those 5 guys call tomorrow and say, Coach, I want to come, we're taking them. They're in, no questions asked, right? We're excited to have them. Any one of those top 5. Everybody from 6 to 12 has a real offer. Like, we like them enough where we think they can help us win, talent wise, character wise. We've done all the research that took us to even offering them in the first place, right? So they have everything we feel like they need to help us win. Okay. But we don't like them as much as we like those top 5 guys. Okay. So what I try to explain to parents is, yes, you can be offered at running back by that school. But it can be non-committable because you're the 7th guy on a 12-person board and the first 5 are committable. So it doesn't mean they don't like you. They like you a lot because they offered you. They just don't like you as much as they like those top 5 guys. Okay. So that's what makes those guys below them non-committable. Okay. So the conversation I would always have with guys, if they did ask me, Coach, is this committable or is it not? And if the answer was no, I explained it to them exactly. And then I was always very transparent. I was on the personnel side. That's just how I felt like you got a lot more done that way. Is if everybody knew exactly where everybody was at, it saves a lot of hassle. And so if they would ask me, I would explain it to them the exact same way I just explained it to you guys. Hey, man, yes, your offer is real. We like you a lot, but we have some guys that we like more in front of you right now on the board. Okay, and when we get down to you, we will let you know. If you're ready to commit, we'll let you know if we're ready to take it or not, and if it's committable. Now, some guys don't like to be that transparent because they think the kid's just going to, because you told them you like other kids better than them, they're just going to break camp, you know what I mean, and not consider you anymore as a school. That is a possibility. From my experience, those guys that are competitors don't see it that way. They want to know, well, why do you like the other guys better? That's the conversations I love having. Because why do you like those guys better than me? Well, it's funny you asked. I'll tell you. Because they do this, this, and this a little better on tape, or they do this, this, and this. And now they take it as a coaching point. Okay. So I was always very transparent. So the biggest thing I can tell you is, before we get into the really crazy stuff, what's going on out there, I just wanted everybody to understand how you can, yes, have a real offer, but it might be committable, but that doesn't mean that you're not good enough or they don't like you or anything like that. They just, for whatever reason, and there could be a lot of reasons, they have other guys ranked above you on the board who have committable offers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I think the point you made there at the end is critical, right? One, ask, is it committable if you get an offer? And two, the question you stated there, the second question, the next level is even, well, it's not more important because you can't ask it without the first one, but it's just as important or if not more. And that's what do I need to do to make it committable, right? Again, that goes back to what's in your control, right? What is actually in your control? And that's what you can do to make it committable, right? And so asking that question and then allowing him to say, well, here's why these guys are ahead of you and here's what we need to see from you in order to for you to jump. Um, and that's what you want to focus on, right? Which is, hey, maybe it's getting in a cuts better. Maybe it's not rounding my routes. Maybe it's getting my pad level lower as an offensive lineman. Maybe it's, getting my back pedal better. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that's currently stopping, or maybe it's your long speed. Go focus on that and let the coach know you're doing it. Coach, what do I need to do to get there? It's a way different attitude than, okay, like, that's not going to work. Coach, I appreciate you being upfront with me. What do I need to do to make it committable? And then go do whatever they ask, post about it, tag that coach over and over again that you're working on it, that you're working hard, that you're trying to get there, and then keep that coach up to speed on what you're doing. And then maybe one of the other player falls off, or maybe this is happening in season and he's watching you make these changes on your film and he's like, I like this kid. He went out, he worked on what he had to. He went from a 4.7 to a 4.6 or whatever, right? And he did what I asked, and I want that guy on my team, right? Like, Brian, what do you like? To me, as a coach, like, I want players who are like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the ones that take it as a coaching point, I had no problem having that conversation with them. And to that point, we've got camp season coming up here soon. It's going to be on us before we know it. Guys are getting camp invites and all that stuff. Or whatever the case may be. But I've had guys I've had conversation with guys like that where the situation may have been, hey, we just want to run you in person in front of us at our camp on our clock, or we want to see you move. We want to coach you ourselves with our linebacker coach, doing some specific stuff that we want to see you get better at. And I give them, exactly what we're looking for. And they come to camp and, if I had that conversation with them in February, they got 3 or 4 months to get better at that stuff. And then they come to camp, and they do it really well. And now it's all changed. Like you have a conversation with them after camp, say, hey man, you really blew us away today. You've gotten so much better at this, that, and other, whatever the case may be. And then we start pressing them to commit because now it's committable just off of what they came and did at camp because they showed improvement and they showed the things that we were looking for that was keeping them from, being up there with those other guys. Now we saw it in person. So now we're having a whole different conversation. That's why it's important to take the coaching because now you know exactly what they're looking for. So you can target it in your off-season program and things like that instead of feeling some type of way or getting in your feelings because other guys are ranked ahead of you. Now, is there some crazy stuff out there or ridiculous stuff that you can't control out there? If the guy says he's 6'2" and you're 6'1", that's stupid. Okay. In my opinion, that's just a dumb answer from the coach. Okay. First of all, inch is about that much. And two, you can't control how tall you are. Okay. So that doesn't, that doesn't make any sense. Okay. So there'd be some weird stuff like that out there. You may get all kind of answers from coaches. You know what I mean? They're human beings just like everybody else. Some of them are, obviously, with the answers they give will be all over the place. So I just wanted people to understand clearly, how that kind of works out sometimes. And it's always not necessarily a crazy negative, that it's not committable. Just find
Right.
out why. If it's not, find out why so you can get better and get a fully transparent answer from the coach. Now, on the flip side of it, we have to hit on, the ones that are just blatantly untrue. Okay. There's a lot of things that happen out there when you see guys post offers, guys. I'm gonna just start with the fully blown ignorant one of they lie. Okay, there's kids out there that just post it, have never talked to a coach or anything, and then I know coaches in the business. I see them hop on all the time and say, please stop posting fake offers. I've never talked to you, and they don't necessarily tag the kid or anybody, but like if somebody's doing that, they post it, so the kid can see them and say, hey, I know you're posting fake. We did not offer you. Please stop doing that. That happens, guys. That happens. Now, you may not know that it's not real. Obviously, you're just seeing it. So again, don't get all bent out of shape. That happens. Okay. The instance that Richie mentioned, or the scenario that Richie mentioned earlier in the show, I just experienced 2 days ago. Okay. I went and watched my nephew play 7-on-7 here locally in a tournament. He's a good looking dude. He's a corner and all that stuff. Got some stuff going on, whatever the case may be. So I go out to see him play. There's a kid playing on his team, on his 7-on-7 team, and I get there, and his dad tells me, he's like, "Yeah, man, this kid just got offered. This first time I've seen him play this year, this 7-on-7 team in person." He said, "Yeah, this his teammate got offered by an SEC school." I was like, "Wow, that's awesome, man. That's a big deal. You must be really good." And long story short, after I watched about 2 games, first of all, I sized him up, and then I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But then I watched 2 games, and just completely knew that something was not right. Okay, that just it wasn't right. So I pulled up his X account. He definitely posted it that he got the offer from those guys. So, just out of curiosity, I called some guys, got a pretty big, Rolodex over the years, called some guys. And long story short, the dad of the kid played for a coordinator at that school in his college career. And the dad was like calling in a favor. Hey, I need to jumpstart my kids' recruiting. Everybody knows it's not, the coach, the high school coach knows the offer is not real. The dad knows the offer is not real. Everybody knows the offer is not real, except everybody looking at it on social media, because they have no idea, no way to know that it's not real. Right.
Right.
So what I would say is, if you're a parent thinking of doing that or doing other things, the kickback to that is the football people that know what they're looking at can pick up on stuff like that.
They
I
know he's
saw
lying.
I saw the kid for 30 minutes and knew something wasn't right. Okay, that just doesn't match. Okay, so then it makes you look worse, because
Right.
and I'm not hammering the kid, but he didn't play very good that day. And so now all the other players and his teammates are like, now they're like, well, hold on now, what's going on now? Like, you know what I mean? Something ain't right. And again, guys, hear me out. If you do something like that, and whether it's that or any other scenario that goes on behind the scenes, that fabricates an offer, let's just say that if you somehow try to fabricate an offer to start your recruiting, and then people start to take notice, especially the football people who can actually offer you scholarships. Say they're following you on X, and that's the only offer you have on there for months. Like, they're scrolling. Wow, he got that one offer. It's just scrolling. And then they're starting to say, well, wow, that's the only school that really feels good about this kid. Why is that? Well, let me go watch his tape. And then they watch your tape, and it doesn't. Well,
Right.
now you're fighting an uphill battle with every other school that you could have possibly wanted to get involved.
Right.
Okay, because now they don't have to know the specifics now of how it happened. They just know something wasn't right, and you were doing something that, probably wasn't very smart to try to, get your recruiting jump started. So I just that's one scenario. There's scenarios where they offer kids because they like their teammate. One's really good, the other one maybe not so much, but they're best friends. They hang out together. You know what I mean?
Or brothers. It
They
happens with brothers
all.
quite
I
a bit.
mean, they're best friends since 7th grade. And then you get down to the nuts and bolts of the recruiting your senior year, and then they're not asking the best friend on the trip as much as they were before, like the junior days and all that stuff. It was cool. Yeah, you guys come up. Now they're talking about official visit, and the best friend's like, well, where's my official visit? Well, we really didn't like you that much, like, to bring you on. We really like Richie a lot more, so we're going to bring him up on a visit. You know what I mean?
That never
And then
happened for me. Yeah.
it just becomes messy. You know what I mean? So like, I just want people to be very cognizant of that too, that are even thinking about doing those things. And just to give you full context of, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes with some of those offers, to get back to Richie's point that he made earlier.
Yeah, no, it is a good point. And like, maybe parents and friends might not, think anything of it and be happy for you and all that. But a college recruiting coordinator, director, someone watching your film is going to know within, a minute of watching your film, like, this is not
Yeah.
correct. So, and then that's going to make them question your character. Just like we tell kids, do not lie about your height. Do not. Like, because they're going to come. You're either going to go to a camp, you're going to go on a visit, they're going to come to your school, and they're going to height check you. And if you're lying, it's a character thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a character thing. And in today's day and age, there's hundreds of really good high school football, or hundreds of thousands of really good high school football players, and coaches will pass on a good player for another good player with high character. So
Yeah. And remember,
it
guys, remember this, because some guys, when somebody says something like Richie just said, hey, look, and we're just using height as an example. There's a lot of examples, but since he
40.
mentioned height, yeah, 40, that's the killer one. But just for height, like, let's just say height, right? Guys, when he says they're going to come to your school, or you can do this, like, say they come in the spring, he doesn't mean they're coming in there and pulling out a tape measure and telling you to back up against the wall. Okay. I can't tell you how many schools I went into. I know exactly how tall I was. I'm 6 feet tall. So when I go in there and I call the kid in the room and I stand beside him, if he's shorter than me, he's obviously not 6 feet. You know what I mean? And if he's taller than me, then he is. So like, they can do that in conversation with you. Okay. Remember, a lot of the times when when it comes your senior year and they can have in-person contact with you, and they take the little picture in the office, hey, coach, thanks for stopping by. Da, 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 da. You know what that picture is used for a lot of times? It's to send to a coordinator or a head coach or somebody like that, to see how tall you are standing beside the coach who they know how tall he is.
Mhm.
Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on, guys. Like, so just tell the truth. Like, it's not top secret information. You know what I mean? You're going to find out anyway. And like Richie said, the more upfront you are about it, it tells a lot more about your character. You know what I mean? You can only hurt yourself doing that.
Right. Right. It's not gonna, in the long run, it's not gonna help you. So,
No.
but look, guys, I hope this gave you some light on offers, right? Committable and non-committable, and how you can now, by knowing this and understanding this, really take advantage of the recruiting process and take advantage of what you can control, right? Which is everything that Brian and I teach, from marketing yourself to doing outreach to the sales process. Everything we teach is in your control and executable by you, right? So worrying about other things going on, getting an offer and not asking if it's committable, and then not asking what you need to do to make it committable if it's not, like, these are things that we teach that you've got to be doing and executing in order to get the most scholarships possible, which is what we work with kids on, right? Is not just getting one offer and not expecting your coach to do it for you or someone else to do it for you. No, it's your success. It's your life. Take control of it. Brian, anything else you want to add to this before we conclude here?
No, I'll just say, exactly what we've been talking about. Control what you can control. Make the tape good, guys. Do the sales, do the marketing, do the outreach, and do the things that's going to make your tape better. Okay. It comes back to your tape and how well you sell yourself and market yourself. Okay. So focus on those things. And, I know it's tough, teenagers, you're on social media, you're scrolling, you see it all off. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this,
No.
I'm not saying you're not going to do it. Okay. But fully understand, again, there's a lot of context that goes behind a lot of those things, and you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble if you just control what you can control. Go be the best player you can, have the best tape you can possibly have, and then learn how to sell and market yourself at a high level, and then it'll all work itself out, and just run your own race.
Yeah, absolutely. So, love it, Brian. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this podcast, we post our podcast every single Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, as well as wherever you're listening to your podcast now. One thing I would ask is if you could just leave us a review on your experience and what you think about the podcast, and then add questions in that review that you may have for your situation. And Brian and I look through those, and that's how we continue to come up with ideas to and basically answers to the questions that you have. So we'd really appreciate that. And if you're on YouTube, there's a stat. I got to look it up, but I think it's 21% of our listeners are subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber and you enjoy our content, consider subscribing. And you could do so by hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification so you find out every video, because we post these on Monday, our podcast. And then on YouTube, every Wednesday, we post more of a training. And then every Saturday morning, we post an evaluation. So I hope you got value from this, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.